Hi, I'm Gohar Vardanyan, and this is the Strings by my Lessonette. In this Lessonette, I would like to go over one of my favorite studies for practicing arpeggios, and that's study number 5, Opus 48 by Mauro Giuliani. It's the same one that appears in my complete warm-up for classical guitar book. But before I actually go into the lesson, I'm going to play the study through so you know what it sounds like. Now before I actually play it at tempo, I like to practice it in different ways. And one of the ways I like to practice it is by subdividing the beat on the metronome. The way the piece is meant to be played is by playing 6 notes per beat, so having the metronome beat on each bass. And so on. Now in order to practice it and get better at it, if you just have 6 notes per beat, the beat is so far and so infrequent that there is too much freedom in between to play unevenly without realizing it. So what I do at first, I subdivide to 3 notes per beat. So I subdivide the beat into 2, and so there's 6 notes, it ends up being 3 notes per beat. For the purpose of this video, I'm going to set the metronome at 84. And this puts the beat on P and on A. This is a good way to start because the music itself still sounds similar because you're just subdividing into 3 and it's 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. It makes it easy to kind of get used to playing with subdivisions. However, when you play in triplets and if your hand is not really used to the new pattern and if you don't have a perfect sense of rhythm and time, a lot of times playing in triplets might sound something like this. Kind of uneven because you still have too much time in between beats for your hand to do whatever it wants. In order to avoid that, I subdivide even further and I make it 2 notes per beat. So I'm moving the metronome up to 112 to make it a little bit faster. Now I'm going to play 2 notes per beat. That means that the beat will fall on P, the ascending M, and the descending M. Have less time in between beats, it sounds more square and it's easier to keep track of an evenness. And it kind of ingrains it in your ear to listen for that evenness. So once you practice it that way and you move back to 3 notes per beat, your ear is going to crave that evenness. So if you don't play it that way, hopefully it will annoy you and you will want to correct it and make sure you always play evenly. Now you're going to want to practice it both in 3 notes per beat and 2 notes per beat and move the tempo up with each time so that you get more comfortable playing it faster, but never too fast where you can't actually control your fingers and it starts to sound unclean or uneven. Eventually you will run out of space on the metronome, so when you're subdividing becomes so frequent that it's acting more of a distraction, that's when you start to subdivide less and less and just play it at 6 notes per beat the way it's meant to be. Now after you do this with the beat manipulation, you also have to practice it with different patterns in the right hand. Not different patterns, but at least different things what you do with the right hand. The study is meant to be played free stroke on all the arpeggio notes. And what I like to do is I like to play the A finger rest stroke just so that I develop the independence between the M finger and the A finger. And since the A finger is usually the weakest, it needs more exercise to be able to match the other fingers. So what I would do is, again with the metronome, and I like to subdivide this for 3 notes per beat. So then I would have the beat on P and the rest stroke A. So you will notice I'm playing free stroke on I and M, and I'm playing rest stroke on A. to do with your thumb is up to you. I personally play most of the time rest stroke on the thumb and free stroke only if I have to. But it's up to you. If you're more comfortable playing free stroke on the thumb, go ahead and do that. If you like rest stroke better and it's more easier for you, then do rest stroke. However, the point is for the rest stroke on the A. And make sure you don't plant the A before you play, so you want to avoid this. That's actually going to slow down. You have to make sure you're hitting the A from the air. That way you have a chance of getting it faster. Now don't get frustrated if your rest stroke isn't as quick as it is with free stroke. That's natural and that's probably never going to be even. Your free stroke will always be faster than your rest stroke. So after practicing it with rest stroke, you will notice that when you go back to the traditional all free stroke pattern, you might actually have easier time playing it. What I also like to do, I like to reverse the order of the arpeggio. So originally it's P, I, M, A, M, I. What I like to do is I reverse it to P, A, M, I, A, M, A. So this way, I'm actually doubling the stroke on the A. So the weaker finger, the one that doesn't get to play very often, ends up playing twice more than what it usually does, which gets it more exercise, and hopefully in the end you have a balanced hand where all the fingers have the same velocity and the same strength. Now to challenge yourself even more, what you could do rest stroke on the A while playing the pattern in reverse. So that would be this. Challenging because then the A is not only playing rest stroke, which is more difficult, but it's also playing it twice in a row. With the metronome, while playing rest stroke or playing reversed, I apply the same techniques. So I practice it 3 notes per beat, I practice it 2 notes per beat. Practicing 2 notes per beat while playing a rest stroke in a regular pattern might be a little bit tricky, because what happens is that the beat falls on the M, which is at this point not the loudest note, because now the A's, the E string or the note under the A string is louder. However, it doesn't fall on the beat, so you end up sounding something like this. So you have to be very careful to make sure that the A doesn't automatically want to fall on the beat, since it is the loudest, and it takes some control. But the good thing is that you want to have individual control of all the fingers, so you have to be able to control and have independence in between them. Use this you can achieve by varying the beat, putting it on different beats, practicing rest stroke, free stroke. Eventually, since this is a study, and the purpose of the study is to work on technique and velocity, there really shouldn't be any speed limitations. So even though the study is allegro, you have a wide range of what is considered allegro. When I played it initially, I think it was around 120 or so, but you could eventually, hopefully, reach to even faster. So I'm going to try it at 144 and see what happens. So by practicing it for pretty much every single day for years, you become very comfortable at the arpeggio. And this is the kind of arpeggio that, because it uses all the fingers, it can substitute a lot of other ones. And once you get comfortable with this, the shorter arpeggios that involve less fingers will be easier. And by doing it with rest stroke on the A and by doing it in reverse, you actually end up getting more practice out of it than you would just playing it one way. So hopefully this will help you improve your arpeggios. Always listen for the evenness, and don't play any faster than your hands can handle in order to be able to develop gradually and smoothly. Thank you for watching.